let's jump right in. The first big thing from today's briefing, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt really challenged Jen Psaki and Mayor Frey, took them head-on about their comments, the ones that seemed to dismiss the power of prayer, and she did it with, frankly, the kind of straightforward talk Americans expect.
Well, and the context here is just so important. You have to understand when they said this. Psaki and Frey's comments, they came right after that horrific shooting at Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis. A real tragedy.
Just awful.
So in that moment, to then publicly question or even mock the idea of prayer, which, is a huge source of comfort and strength for millions, it just comes across as incredibly insensitive, disrespectful, really. As Leavitt put it, and this is a direct quote, "It is utterly disrespectful to deride the power of prayer in this country, and it is disrespectful to the millions of Americans of faith."
Exactly, spot on.
And that response, it really hits home for a lot of people. It defends something fundamental.
It's more than just disrespectful, isn't it? It feels like a direct jab at, the foundation of American values. Faith, freedom of religion. These are core principles here, always have been.
Absolutely.
So mocking prayer, especially after a tragedy like that, it just seems completely out of step with who we are as a country. It really highlights, how disconnected some public figures can get from regular people and what they believe.
And that's the key cultural point, right? For so many Americans, faith isn't just like a side thing. It's central.
Yeah.
Especially when times get tough. So when people in power dismiss prayer, it feels personal. Like an attack on their values, their identity.
Yeah, I can see that.
Leavitt's strong stance,
Right.
It really highlighted that perceived gap, between some leaders and the role faith plays in everyday American life. It was a defense, really, of these deep-rooted beliefs, validating people's spiritual lives.
Okay, moving to the next point from the briefing. Press Secretary Leavitt also laid down the law, so to speak, on internal alignment within the Trump administration. She gave that specific example, didn't she, about the HHS official who got dismissed for using pregnant people instead of pregnant women.
Right, and that statement, it wasn't just about one person or one phrase. It signals a much broader, very deliberate policy stance, a philosophical line, really.
Yeah.
When she said, he identifies pregnant women as pregnant people, so that's not someone who we want in this administration. Well, that's unambiguous.
Crystal clear.
It lines up perfectly with President Trump's vision and also Health Secretary RFK Jr.'s vision, emphasizing normal, gender-specific language, focusing on the mission to make America healthy again.
Okay. It shows they're serious about having a consistent approach. Everyone pulling in the same direction.
On that clarity, that decisiveness, that's exactly what we're seeing, right?
Yeah.
Leavitt had doubled down, saying, if people are not aligned with President Trump's vision and Secretary Kennedy's vision, then we will gladly show them the door. That says a lot about the leadership style. No messing around. It's about ensuring everyone is genuinely committed to the same goals for the country's health. It's not just words. It's about unified action, effective government, no room for internal debates that slow things down.
And think about the implications for actually getting things done. For policy implementation, from a conservative perspective, having that kind of alignment, ideological, linguistic picket colony, it's seen as vital.
Makes sense. It means every official is theoretically working towards the same end goal, pushing the same message. It avoids those internal squabbles that can paralyze progress. So this isn't just, internal housekeeping. It's about projecting clear values, clear priorities in everything the government does. It tells the public and everyone inside the administration exactly what the standard is for health policy and cultural values.
Okay, let's shift gears now, a much more serious topic. Press Secretary Leavitt delivered a really stark criticism of Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, specifically hitting hard on the tragic situation with public safety in Chicago. Leavitt quoted directly, "For 13 consecutive years, Chicago has had the most murders of any U.S. city. This is J.B. Pritzker's legacy." That's a heavy accusation, but one that needs to be heard.
It's devastating.
Yeah.
And the context, the facts behind it are just heartbreaking. Chicago has consistently, year after year, ranked among the highest for murder rates. Even in 2024, with, maybe some dips in other crime stats, they still recorded 573 homicides, still leading U.S. cities.
Unbelievable.
So when Leavitt highlights this, she's pointing to what many see as a massive failure in leadership under Pritzker. A failure in his administration's approach to crime. It paints a terrifying picture for the people actually living there, doesn't it?
Right.
Imagine the daily fear, the impact on families, on businesses, just on feeling safe walking down your own street. It casts a long shadow.
13 years. 13 consecutive years topping that list. Just let that sink in.
Yeah.
That's not a blip. It's a chronic systemic crisis. And it really does suggest that these high crime rates aren't just bad luck. They're a direct result of leadership choices or maybe a lack of the right choices.
Exactly. A failure to act effectively.
For a city to lead the nation in murder year after year, I mean, that signifies broken trust. Lives destroyed. It's a powerful indictment of the policies that have let this happen for so long.
And this criticism, it ties directly into core conservative concerns about how our cities are governed, especially regarding public safety. It emphasizes that elected officials must be held accountable for the basic safety of their citizens. That's job one, right?
Fundamental.
When a city consistently fails so badly on that front, it's more than just a statistic. It's a sign of systemic breakdown. It screams for a completely different approach, one that, actually prioritizes safety, supports law enforcement properly, and takes decisive action to restore order. The administration's message seems to be, this can't continue. People's lives are on the line.
And it seems the American public absolutely sees this crisis too. Press Secretary Leavitt brought up some really striking new polling data today. No ambiguity there. She stated it very clearly. 81% of Americans say crime is a major problem in large cities across the country. 81%. That's nearly everyone.
That number is huge. And the significance, you just can't overstate it. When you see agreement like that, 81%, it tells you this isn't just some political talking point or a local news story. No, this is a deep, widespread national concern. People feel it.
You bet they do.
That statistic is a direct reflection of the reality in many American cities. The basic expectation of safety is just not being met for millions. It reflects real fear, real frustration across the country.
And what's really interesting is where people are looking for answers. Leavitt then pointed out that a clear majority of Americans believe President Trump's actions are justified and necessary to reduce crime in these cities. So it's not just recognizing the problem, it's endorsing a specific path forward. It feels like a mandate, doesn't it? A clear signal from the public.
It certainly does.
They see the issue, and they see President Trump as the one with the will and the plan to actually fix it. They're supporting decisive action.
And that raises a really interesting point about what people expect from leadership now. That public backing from President Trump's approach suggests, well, a desire for stronger law enforcement, maybe more direct federal involvement in some cases, certainly a less tolerant attitude towards crime.
Seems likely.
It shows a willingness, I think, to embrace strategies that focus squarely on immediate public safety, on restoring order, even if those strategies push back against the status quo or face political headwinds. There's a real hunger out there for solutions that actually work, that make cities demonstrably safer. And the public seems to be drawing a clear line between different approaches.
Okay, and that brings us to the final really impactful point from the briefing. Press Secretary Leavitt delivered this incredibly direct message, aimed right at Americans living in Democrat-run cities. She said, and I really want you to hear this, "This is our message to Americans in Democrat-run cities nationwide. Decline is a choice."
Powerful words.
You don't have to live in constant fear of being robbed, raped, or murdered. Your leaders are lying to you, and they have been failing you for decades.
Wow. That statement. It's a very potent breakdown of the situation from the administration's viewpoint. Decline is a choice.
Yeah.
That phrase is key. It says these conditions, the high crime, the fear, they aren't inevitable. They're not just how cities are. No, it argues they are the direct result of specific policy choices, leadership failures, things that could have been different.
Right. Agency. Accountability.
Exactly. And by listing those stark consequences, being robbed, raped, or murdered, she's underscoring the immense human cost, the gravity of it all. It's a sharp reminder that public safety isn't just some policy debate point. It's fundamental. It's non-negotiable.
And that challenge, you don't have to live in constant fear. That's a call to action, isn't it?
Yes,
It's saying you deserve better. It's empowering people, reminding them they have a right to feel secure, and then adding, your leaders are lying to you and they've been failing you for decades. Well, that frames it as a long-term systemic problem, one that requires citizens to stand up, demand accountability, demand change. It basically says the status quo is unacceptable, it's built on bad choices, and you, the citizens, have the power to change it.
And when you tie that message back to everything else we've talked about, it connects directly to personal responsibility, to effective governance, and that urgent need for new leadership in these struggling cities. It's all built on the idea that these cities can turn around. Change is possible, but it requires different choices, different policies that prioritize safety, order, well-being. And ultimately, it's a declaration that citizens have the power to demand that change, to choose renewal instead of decline, to reject leaders who failed them on the most basic duty of government, keeping people safe.
And that wraps up our deep dive into today's hidden headlines.